The liberal will say, look how foolish, how wasteful our military budget is. The Air Force builds an F-16 fighter plane, and the Navy Air Force builds an F-16 fighter plane, which is almost a duplicate. Total duplication, billions of dollars duplicated when we already had that weapon. Isn't that foolish and wasteful? And the Marxist analysis says, no, that's not foolish and wasteful. That's only foolish and wasteful from a human point of view. From the taxpayer's point of view, from the needs of your human community. But who the hell ever said capitalism had anything to do with the human community? It's not wasteful, it's wonderful. If you're a defense contractor, then it's wonderful to have a contract with the Navy and one with the Air Force, and you'll even go for one with the Marines and with the Seabees, and you'll try to sell the F-16 to the Coast Guard if you could do it, if you could get away with it. It's perfectly rational. Marxism is a theory about capitalism. And it's a theory which says that capitalism has certain dynamics. Capitalism has a tendency to accumulate capital for the sake of accumulating capital. That's what Marxism says. Marxism says that capitalism is not a system about building jobs or building communities or creating work or creating a better standard of living. That capitalism will create jobs or destroy jobs depending on whether or not there's profit. It will create communities, levitt towns, whatever else, ticky-tack boxes, whatever else. It will create beautiful houses if there's somebody who paid beautiful prices, or it will destroy communities, as it destroyed Poletown in Chicago to build a Cadillac plant. It will create jobs, or it will close out jobs through automation or through exporting those jobs to cheaper labor markets. The capitalism is a dynamic that has very little to do with human needs. It's a dynamic that has to do with the maximization of profit. Its central imperative, the central law of capitalist motion and development is the maximization of profit, is capital penetration for the sake of capital accumulation. And it will use the environment as a septic tank, not because people are nasty, not because they're stupid and anything else, but because that is rational. It's rational to do that. And that's the Marxist analysis of capitalism. And that's the difference between a liberal complaint and a radical analysis. Because the liberal will spend the rest of his life complaining about these things being wrong and saying, aren't we foolish? Aren't we irrational that we foul our environment in this way? When are we going to come to our senses? The implication always is that the person who's saying that is somehow morally better and nicer and would do differently than all the other silly, foolish, confused people around. And the Marxist analysis says, no, that isn't true. That the reason Firestone built that tire company plant on the Mill River in Connecticut and took a river that Mother Nature had spent 100 million years developing, that was used for recreation and fishing and drinking water, and Firestone dumped that raw industrial effusion into that water, wasn't because they were foolish, because they were confused or silly, but they were rational, because their commitment wasn't to that river, it wasn't to the environment, it wasn't to children playing, it wasn't to future generations, it wasn't to the community, although they'll say that in their PR propaganda as they're doing now with Earth Day. Because they had nothing to do with that, and that's a Marxist analysis. And the Marxist says it's quite rational to dump your raw industrial effusion into that river because that maximizes your profit. And the essence of that system is the maximization of profit is capital accumulation. And every other human value is secondary and in fact possibly even antagonistic to that value. It doesn't matter. And those values shall be smashed. Sometimes some of them can be accommodated, if they can be accommodated within the parameters of profit. If not, then they have to go. And so you've got to decide, are you going to spend the rest of your life as a half-assed liberal complaining about the irrationalities and the foolishness of all these programs, or are you going to point out the links of class power and class interests that are behind those things, that keep doing those things. Do you really think that because you don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're doing?